Hey everyone, I'm Liz and today I'm going to show you how I made these yarn eyes out of crochet. In this tutorial I'll show you how to make the larger size because it'll be easier to see what I'm doing. To make this larger size you'll need some Aran weight yarn. I'll be using Red Heart Super Saver in 3 different colors. Black for the pupil, white for the shines and the whites of the eyes, and the color of your choice for the iris of the eye. I'll be using this blue yarn so that it stands out from the black of the pupil, but you can use any color you like. You'll also need a crochet hook. I'll be using a size E hook to show you how to make the larger size eyes. To make the smaller eyes, you'll need some super fine weight crochet thread. I'll be using Loops and Threads wool-like crochet thread in 3 different colors for the pupil, the iris, and the whites and shines of the eyes. You'll also need a size B crochet hook to make the smaller version of this eye. First I'm going to take my black yarn and I'm going to use it to make a double magic circle with 6 stitches of single crochet. So I'm going to wrap my yarn around my fingers twice. And then into those loops of my circle I'm going to pull up a loop and chain 2. And that'll count as the first stitch of my row. Then I'm going to single crochet 5 more times into my loops for a total of 6 stitches. Alright, I've finished my 6 stitches. Now I'm going to close my magic circle. So I'm going to pull on the tail a little bit. So now I have a bigger loop and a smaller loop. So I'm going to take my smaller loop and I'm going to pull it from the side closest to the tail until the other loop closes completely. Then I'm just going to pull on the tail until the other loop closes. Alright, now to end this part, I'm going to slip stitch into that chain 2 that I made that counted as the first stitch of the row. And I'm going to cut off my yarn. And now I have this small black circle. Now I'm going to use my blue yarn to make a circle of blue around my circle of black. So I'm going to take my blue yarn and I'm going to pull up a loop into one of the stitches of my black circle. And then chain 1. And that'll count as the first slip stitch of this row. So now I'm going to create a row of slip stitches all around my circle. So I'm going to slip stitch into each stitch of my black circle. Okay, I've gone all around my black circle with slip stitches using my blue yarn. Now I'm going to slip stitch into the chain 1 that counted as the first slip stitch of the row. And then chain 2. And that will count as the first single crochet stitch of this row. So in this row, I'm going to increase every stitch. So I'm going to single crochet one more time into the same slip stitch, and then I'm going to single crochet 2 times into each slip stitch all the way around the row. Alright, I've finished my row of blue single crochets. So to finish this row, I'm going to slip stitch into that chain 2 that counted as the first stitch of the row. And then I'm going to cut off my yarn. Now I have the pupil and the iris of my eye. Now I'm going to use my white yarn to make the whites of the eyes. And I'm going to do that pretty much the same way I did the iris, by creating a circle of white around the iris. So I'm going to pull up a loop into one of the stitches of my iris circle, and chain 1. And that'll count as the first slip stitch of this row. So I'm going to slip stitch into each stitch of my iris circle. If you want to, you could just slip stitch into about half the stitches of the iris row to create a half circle of eye white instead of a full circle. This will make the eye looking in a certain direction if you want that look. So for this eye, since I'll be making a full circle of eye white, I'm going to slip stitch to the first stitch of my row to finish the circle. And then I'm going to chain 2. And that chain 2 will count as the first stitch of the row. Now in this row I want to increase again, but this time I'm going to increase every second stitch. So I'm going to single crochet 2 into the next slip stitch of the row. Okay, now I'm going to continue to increase every second slip stitch of the row until I reach the end of my slip stitch row. But if you're making a half circle of eye white, you should just chain 2 right away without closing the circle. So now I've gotten to the end of my row for this eye, the one with the full circle of white. Now I'm just going to slip stitch to the first stitch of my row to end the row. Then I'm going to cut off my yarn. And I'm going to leave a long tail, and I'm going to use that tail to create the shines on my eyes and to sew the eyes onto another project later. And for this eye, the one with only a half circle of white, I'm just going to end the row by doing one more slip stitch into the next stitch of my iris circle. And then I'm going to use my yarn needle to sew a shine onto either side of the pupil. I'm going to insert my needle in through the back of the work, and then I'm going to pull it back through to the back of the work. And I'm going to go over that line a couple more times to give it a more rounded shape. And then I'm going to do that again on the other side of the pupil. But if you want, you could just add one shine to your eye. And now, as you can see, I've sewed the eyes onto my doll. I hope you liked this tutorial. If you did, give it a like and share it on social media. If you want to see my basic doll eyes tutorial, where I show you 3 ways to make simpler doll eyes out of yarn, click the link at the end of the video. And if you want to see more tutorials like this in the future, subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you all next time. Bye!